Hey guys, welcome back to Margo Watches Movies. Today I'm going to be reviewing just a single episode of Andor. I'll have the following two tomorrow. It's gotten a little late. I got work tomorrow, but I'll have two follow-up episodes. I'll probably review them individually, as I'd really like to savor the last three episodes of some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten. So episode 10 of Andor Season 2 is yet another standout episode from the season. It is a singular episode in terms of characters. It is all from the point of view of one of the coolest and coldest characters Star Wars has ever seen, Luthen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, along with his right-hand man, his assistant and cover and unofficial daughter, Clea, who, especially in this episode, I had to actually look it up, and there is no relation apparently, but who had a striking resemblance to Carrie Fisher, obviously Princess Leia. I don't think she has near the natural beauty, most women don't, that Carrie Fisher possessed, and especially her heyday, but there's a striking resemblance to me where I thought maybe there might be some relation. But this episode kicks off with a dialogue heavy but absolutely riveting scene, and the dialogue in this scene is sparkling. It is loaded to the core with leveraging, with pleading, and with a very big revelation. The gentleman who has been spying for Luthen within the Empire, the scrawny, kind of red-headed gentleman, has been sitting on information that he found in Deidre in her computer, or her files, her private files, and it's basically pointing towards what the Empire has been plotting all along in both the Gorman storyline, with needing endless energy. If you're familiar with Star Wars, you can guess this is obviously going towards the Death Star. And it was such a well-written scene. I was absolutely riveted by it. The bartering, the begging, and then finally by the conclusion of it, where once it is revealed to Luthen, and it's actually off screen when he tells him it's the Death Star, you cut back and you see the gentleman there on the bench with a blaster hole in his chest, and Luthen just point blank killed this guy after mentioning his wife and children wanting to get him out. It shows the severity of what is at stake. That's something Star Wars hasn't had in a long time. And the Death Star itself, the horrible sequel trilogy, they just kind of ran it back and it was the same old, but when you have a series operating at the ground floor like this, and we're not up with basically the gods in a sense of the Jedi and the Skywalker family, you get to see just how terrifying the notion of such a weapon could be to these people. And the mere mention of it is something that causes Luthen, who is very cold-blooded, and that's one of the things I like a lot about his character and what this show does, is yes, he is leading the rebellion for the Allies. He's one of the people who's been the architect and the orchestrator of this rebellion. This is not a man that is a hero in the classical sense. It kind of reminds me of a line from Invincible Season 3 where it's like, we can be the good guys or we can save the world. And in this sense, it's saving the galaxy, but he gets that information and takes the guy's life. And he relays it to Clea, who he orders to go off planet. I presume he gave her the information. I don't know if that was explicitly stated, or if what the episode ends on means that the information is going to have to be gathered some way else. But it feels like the light on the fuse has been lit, and we're just watching that flame go all this down this very long path leading towards the finale of Rogue One, which is what Andor is clearly building into, is the start of Rogue One. And I think they're going to probably stick that landing. But what unfolds afterwards is Deidre confronts Luthen within his antique shop. And another just really captivating scene, dialogue heavy, so much subtext below the seams of these two very smart people. And Deidre is, you can tell, and what I really liked about this episode when they showcase Deidre is they don't explicitly go out of their way to tell you about how she's reeling from the loss of Cyril, even with another year time jump from the last episode to this one. But you can tell that she has so fully thrown herself into this chase of Luthen, her mystery man dating all the way back to season 1, as a way of coping with her loss and the mistakes that she made in Gorman. And it makes it believable that she would be so excited and even a little bit arrogant that she loses the plot. She takes her eyes off Luthen, and he's able to mortally wound himself, trying to kill himself so they can't torture any information out of him, the ISB. And he's then transported to a hospital, and then the episode shifts brilliantly to Kirilla's point of view. And this Carrie Fisher lookalike, Luthen's assistant now, I don't know if the episode was trying to frame it as she was trying to go in and rescue Luthen, but she comes up with a plan to try and break into this hospital. And as she's executing the plan, you get these wonderful flashbacks, basically an origin story of how they met. And you see, that she was always naturally gifted at what she does. Now, there's a really well done bartering scene with a younger Luthen, fresh after leaving the Empire, and she kind of takes the lead and gets double the money that Luthen was willing to take for this item that they're pawning so they can eat some food. And you see why she was such a good apprentice for him. And as we're cutting back to the present and her, enacting this plan in the hospital, and then back to their memories, you're getting this nice, robust, full picture, and it's really, really well done flashbacks. And I wouldn't say this episode was action heavy, not like episode 8, but it was in some ways on par. This was a truly tremendous episode of television. And it's not holding your hand. To me, it seemed obvious what the conclusion was going to be, and that's what she was kind of grappling with in her mind. I don't know if you were supposed to think that she was going there to save him, but she breaks in. She has a plan that works. She kills a few people, and she comes into who's been her unofficial father for her whole life, while he's on life support with a ventilator coming out of his chest. And she takes the ventilator out, kills him. And it's a tragic moment, but it's heroic too, because it's everything that Luthen has instilled in her. It's exactly what he would want her to do. And it's such a testament to Tony Gilroy, the writing team. And again, this is another absolutely fantastic looking episode of television. It's top notch. The set designs, the visual effects, everything is just popping off the screen in ways that I didn't and I haven't seen from this streaming service with all their big budget shows. This show is just something else in its aesthetic, and it has me just excited for Star Wars again in a way I haven't felt in a long time. It's probably since, everyone in revisionist history likes to act like The Force Awakens wasn't very good, and maybe now it isn't, but walking out of the theater, seeing Star Wars done like that is probably the last time I was that excited. And you know, you have that tragic end, but it's exactly what the characters would have done. It was the natural conclusion. It was the proper development. And the death of Luthen is a sad one in many ways, because he was such a compelling character, and he was such a morally gray and complex and rich, multifaceted character. And he will go down as an all-time great character within Star Wars, I think. And you had such a fantastic performance by Stellan Skarsgård, and you know, his right hand, she carried her half of the episode with aplomb. I was blown away by her performance. And there's so many good actors in this show, and we'll see where it leads to. But you know, one other thing I mentioned is Dedra gets arrested for doing the raid in the first place on Stellan Skarsgård's antique shop. So I don't know what's going to happen with that character, but we're completely away from Andor and Bix and everything else. It was a much needed, singular focused episode to wrap up the storyline of Luthen. And I imagine his assistant has that information on the Death Star. It's just how is she going to get that out? So I'll be looking forward to seeing that over the next 2 and final episodes tomorrow. But I felt this was a tremendous episode. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, and it was worth a single review. I apologize for the length, but there's a lot to discuss in this one. And again, it's so good. It's so refreshing to see Star Wars done right. And there's so much in this universe that could be explored in mature and adult ways that they just haven't really done. And this show, Tony Gilroy, in these later episodes, they have absolutely been knocking it out of the park. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. That's all for episode 10, season 2 of Andor. This is Margot Watches Movies. My name's Jake Margot. Thanks for tuning in.